This clip comes from Strange News Adventure, a channel built around hunting experiences, outdoor expeditions, and sharing real-world knowledge with fellow outdoors enthusiasts. On April 27, 2016, a hunter had ventured deep into the woods on a combined hunting and camping trip. Perched high up in a tree stand with a clear view of the surrounding forest, he quietly scanned the area for any signs of wildlife. Everything felt routine, just another calm stretch of the hunt. Then something caught his eye moving through the trees. A bear. Initially, it looked like one of those unremarkable wildlife moments that hunters in remote areas occasionally come across. But the atmosphere shifted quickly. What seemed like a casual sighting began turning into something far more serious, forcing the hunter to understand that the dynamic had flipped. He wasn't just watching anymore. Something out there was aware of him too.
Hey there. Hey there. Down there. Get down. Down.
A large brown bear moved into the area and started methodically examining the ground directly beneath the tree stand. Its movement through the forest seemed purposeful from the start, and its behavior only reinforced that impression. Rather than drifting through without direction, the animal moved with intent, as though it had already picked up on the hunter's scent. It came to a stop right below the stand and held its position, sniffing the air and scanning its surroundings. Then came the moment that changed everything. The bear started climbing the tree. In an instant, what had been an interesting wildlife encounter became a genuine threat to the hunter's life. He stayed as motionless as he possibly could, careful not to make any sharp movements that might agitate the animal. The bear kept descending, steadily narrowing the gap between them. Each passing second felt stretched out and agonizing. With the ground far below and no viable exit, the hunter had no choice but to hold his position and watch the bear continue upward. At one point, the distance between them had shrunk to almost nothing. Then, without any clear warning, the bear stopped. It paused for a moment, reversed course, descended the tree, and disappeared back into the forest without a second glance. Just like that, it was done. The hunter had made it through what could easily have become a life-changing or even fatal situation. There's no way to know with certainty what the bear's intentions were, but the encounter makes one thing unmistakably clear. The wilderness operates on its own terms, and it can turn hostile without notice. Once that bear started climbing, the hunter's choices essentially vanished. Elevated above the ground, with no route of escape and no realistic way to put distance between himself and the animal, he was completely at its mercy. With every foot the bear climbed, the buffer of safety between them shrank further. If it had chosen to keep going, the outcome could have looked very different. At that proximity, there would have been almost no time to respond. Any abrupt movement or panicked attempt to get away could have provoked an aggressive or defensive reaction. Even a brief physical confrontation with an animal of that build and raw power can leave a person with devastating injuries. The moment the bear lost interest and turned back down was the pivot point that almost certainly kept things from spiraling into something far worse. The encounter is also a striking reminder that out in the wild, humans don't always hold the role of observer. Sometimes they're the ones being studied. A trip that started as an ordinary day of hunting pivoted into a scenario where the hunter himself had become the subject of a powerful predator's focus. For those few unbearable moments, he wasn't tracking anything. Something was tracking him. His composure almost certainly helped keep the situation from escalating, but there was an undeniable element of luck at play as well. These encounters don't always resolve this cleanly. Time and again, from remote wild places around the world, stories have shown how fast a routine wildlife sighting can spiral into a genuine fight for survival. The hunter made it home without a scratch, but what he carried with him was something harder to shake. A stark first-hand understanding that out in nature, safety is never a given, and sometimes the only thing standing between a harrowing story and a tragedy. His property owner pulled up to his secluded cabin on High Knob Road, only to find an unfamiliar truck sitting in his driveway. What seemed like it might be a simple mix-up quickly took a much darker turn once he got a closer look at the stranger who had no intention of moving along. He walked up to the vehicle and located the man nearby, making it clear right away that he was standing on private land and that the Hardy County Sheriff's Department had already been called. The stranger's reaction, though, was anything but reassuring.
To be concerned about, because I've already been talking to surveyors. I own this property. I can show you rightfully right now. You could call the police.
Okay, I'm going to. Because you are on my land, I paid to have this driveway put in. This is all being recorded, by the way.
You're wrong.
I had the survey when I bought it.
You half spoke there. Are you recording?
Yes.
You want to put that away, we can talk.
I don't trust anybody because right now there's no one else here but me and you. But I paid to have this driveway put in.
Look, I'm not talking to you if you're recording me. I'm not allowing you to record me.
You're on private property.
No, I am not, okay? Go turn that off and we'll talk. Turn that off. You want to talk?
I'm just getting the sheriff here. No. I'm getting the sheriff here. I called them yesterday, and they said when I come here.
I'm not having a conversation with you, okay? You want to turn off that recording, we can have a conversation. I'm not allowing you to record me.
Call.
You understand that? I asked you to turn that off if you want to have a conversation.
High Knob Road.
The stranger, who the property owner now referred to as Mark, had parked his truck on the property owner's land and showed no intention of moving it.
I've come to my property. I've been notified that someone's been trespassing. I come here. I have a trespasser. He's telling me that this is his property. He's using my driveway to... My cabin is located close to the line. It's been here for umpteen years now. He's using my driveway to access his. I've asked him to leave. He's told me, no, this is his property, and I need to get someone out here to help settle this and to have him removed. His name is Mark. Also, I have a GoPro on me. Am I allowed to be recording on my property? Okay, because he's telling me to turn it off. I'm just for my own safety. Okay. Okay, that's fine. At least for the record, I've asked. That's I do not know. In my vehicle, I always bring it up here just because of bears and stuff. There's a 20 gauge in my vehicle. It's unloaded. But I was bringing it just for safety of bears, because there is bears are a nuisance here. But no officer is in any risk with me at all. Consider me unarmed. Unarmed. It is. It's in the back. Breech is open. I have utmost respect for police. I am of absolutely no threat. No, he appears to be on his property, but he's using my driveway to access his, and he's parked on mine. And I just want him out of here, because I'm getting ready to put up a gate, and once I put up a gate on my property, he's not going to be able to leave. No, there's no right of way. Well, he does. His property joins mine. His property joins mine. But where the line is, when I initially purchased this, he's parked on mine. I don't believe he's camping on mine, but I do need his truck out of here because I'm putting up a gate on my driveway, and he's not going to be able to leave.
According to the property owner's own account, when deputies eventually made the long drive out to that isolated stretch of road, the whole story unraveled. After roughly 20 minutes of back and forth with law enforcement, the man finally conceded that the land wasn't his and the driveway wasn't his either. He'd been lying straight to the owner's face the entire time. His justification? It was simply more convenient for him to leave his truck there. And yet, the moment he was pressed on it, the vehicle fired up without a single problem. The property owner acted fast. The second the trespasser drove off, he put a cable across the entrance to stop anyone from pulling in uninvited again. But the thought that lingered afterward was straightforward and deeply unsettling. What would this man have done if no one had been filming? With no footage, no witnesses, and nothing to keep him honest, out in a remote area where the nearest help is a significant drive away and you're completely alone with someone willing to lie about everything, that camera may well be the only line of defense between a close call and something far worse. In 2012, a university student named Helen Murray was out on a hike near Hackney Marshes in London when she came face to face with something that stopped her cold. What she described was a large, dark, hunched creature moving close to the ground. Her first instinct was that it was some kind of bear on the loose. She managed to take a handful of photos before fear took over and she fled the scene. Sadly, every shot came out too blurred for any specialist to make a definitive identification. Still, her encounter dredged up a deeply unsettling incident from 1981, in which 4 young children reported coming across a growling, upright creature in that exact same location. Authorities launched a search of the area, but the only things they turned up were a set of unusual tracks and accounts of decapitated bear carcasses that had been discovered nearby in the months prior. So the question remains, just what was it that Helen Murray came across that day? Camper Vibe is a popular YouTube channel boasting more than 110,000 subscribers, primarily celebrated for its content around camping adventures and van renovations. But one episode stands in a category all its own. The creator ventured out on a solo camping trip to one of the most notorious locations in the UK, the Screaming Woods of Daring near Pluckley in Kent. Widely regarded as the most haunted forests in all of Britain, these woods carry a reputation dark enough to unsettle even the most fearless of thrill seekers. The woman behind Camper Vibe decided to spend a full 48 hours there, entirely on her own. As a seasoned solo female camper, who's no stranger to remote, isolated environments, she's not someone who spooks easily, yet the oppressive atmosphere of Darien Woods, layered with its sinister past, turned out to be a challenge unlike anything she'd faced before. The woods earned their chilling name from the deeply disturbing sounds witnesses have long reported after dark, bone-chilling screams and ghostly footsteps drifting through the mist. Local legend is packed with unsettling tales, the tormented spirit of an 18th century army colonel who ended his own life, a highwayman brutally slain somewhere among the trees, and dark silhouettes said to trail unsuspecting travelers through the forest. Initially, things appeared completely ordinary. She set up her tent deep within the woods and cooked herself steak and chips over an open fire. But once darkness took hold, the tranquility gave way to strange, deeply unsettling sounds. Here's what her camera captured as she sat beside the flames.
See, a Cadbury's pot of joy. Yogurt, basically, chocolate yogurt. There is a lot of noises in these woods. Where's my spoon? Sounds like kids screaming. That's just a train. Is it a bird or is it kids screaming? That's a bird. That's a gunshot. The hammock's really comfy, thank God, so I should sleep well, I would think. Where's my big bean? What was that noise? This is definitely odd.
Then, somewhere around 2 a.m., the situation took a genuinely disturbing turn. At 3:50 in the morning, something suddenly triggered a violent reaction from the crows. Their frantic cawing tore through the silence of the forest, as though they were sounding an alarm about something lurking just out of sight.
What is going on?
So does the legend of the Screaming Woods hold any truth? This Camper Vibe episode leaves that question deliberately unanswered, drawing viewers into one of Britain's most unsettling corners, where generations of dark history and haunting folklore live on beneath the shadow of ancient trees. Dave Morse's paranormal adventures had grown up surrounded by these stories, glimmering eyes peering through the darkness, miners trudging past in the dead of night, shadowy figures drifting between the trees. So on a mild evening in May, he decided to go in alone and see what was really there. The first thing he encountered, though, wasn't anything supernatural.
To get myself to work, and at 7:50 a.m. in the morning of December, the explosion happened. And like I said, guys, once I get in my tent, I'll tell you a little bit more history and some ghost stories. But yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself and tell you where I was. So I'm solo camping today in one of the UK's most haunted forests. And they say there's a fog here that rolls in, and it's the souls of the spirits that passed away from all the accidents. Now right over here behind me, the land was owned by the Holton family for over 800 years. Now they did some naughty things themselves, and obviously when I get my tent out and we sat down and we relaxed and chilling, I'll read you a little bit of the history as well. But for now, guys, follow me.
Bloxby was along the path those miners walked on the morning of December 21st, 1910, the day 344 men and boys never returned home. The shaft still ran beneath his feet, and the air carried a weight that was hard to explain. But as he pressed further in to find somewhere to set up camp, the forest felt inhabited in a way that had nothing to do with the dead.
Somebody's living here. I don't think this is a good idea, you know. Look at that. Somebody's already made it then. They're having a fire. That's a smart den though. Right guys, it's things like this that get me a little bit worried now. Because it's not a really big area, you see. But I'm not too sure about that now. The thing is, right behind this woods is a big nut house, what they call a nut house, which has got loads of people who are, should I say, not well, and a lot of them seem to, over the years, have escaped. Now, I don't want to be stuck in here with somebody.
And here's what unfolded next. Someone had already made themselves at home out there, a fire that had been burning recently, still giving off heat, half a bottle of Jameson sitting nearby, personal belongings scattered through the undergrowth. Then came the laughter. 2 male voices, somewhere just beyond the tree line, getting closer.
I can hear 2 people talking to each other. I'll show you the track because I don't really know what to do. Catherine said if you don't feel safe, then come home. I'm not a shitbag. But that is somebody living here. And I'm not willing to get my gear robbed at night. Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. God, I don't know what to do. I bet a lot of you be screaming at me right now going, come there. Seriously. I really don't know what to do. I'm much more worried for my safety, guys, more than anything. Really more worried about my safety more than anything. But I feel like whoever's living in there is going to come back. There was half a bottle of Jameson's. The fire, I put my hand over the top of the fire, guys, and it was still warm. There could be somebody just chilling here. But for the Jameson's at this time in the morning, at this time in like the afternoon, half a bottle. Says to me that's somewhere that they come quite a lot. Maybe. Fucking hell, guys, I thought I saw someone then. Just literally jump out of the bushes and it weren't, it were a bird. You can see where I am, guys. It's not a nice place. Like when you're on your own. I don't know what to do here.
He held his position in the darkness for a full hour, just listening. Then he walked out. He went home, dropped off his gear, and returned at 10:30 that night. No tent this time, just his recording equipment and whatever composure he had managed to hold on to.
Because since I went and come back, this wasn't here. So that's telling me that people did come over here when I came over here. I can't believe how light it is. But it's summer. And it's very warm, midgy weather. But I'm stood right in the shafts right now, guys. It just feels really creepy. Like I've got eyes all over me. It's this specific area that's just really creepy. Yeah, very eerie. So in 1910, when this disaster actually happened, Still somebody over here, I think, guys. But I've been home and...
Alone on the very ground where 344 people lost their lives, the spirit talker broke the quiet. They found my body. They found my body. Then a name came through. Stuart. Then another. Jack.
Mining disaster still reside in these woods.
Please run now.
Please run now. Are you trying to warn me? Are you trying to tell me something? As soon as it said that, I heard cracking in the bushes at the back. Can't believe how light it looks on this camera, guys. 11 o'clock. I can hear footsteps. I put the spirit talker on the floor here. Guys, I'm getting eaten by midges.
Found my body.
They found my body.
Jack communicated that he was exhausted. The spirit talker began urging him to move on. Then something made contact with the camera, and at that point Jay figured that whatever was out there in those woods had said everything it needed to say. A group of film students shooting near Parnell Station in Auckland got more than they bargained for when they spotted two figures wearing white masks lurking in the tall grass nearby. Initially, the students assumed it was someone messing with them and brushed it off with a laugh, but the moment one of the masked individuals appeared to be holding a pistol, the atmosphere shifted completely. As the group moved closer to get a better look, they wasted no time bolting toward the main road. A police helicopter showed up shortly afterward, and it came out that these masked strangers had already been bothering other people in the area, with the weapons most likely being fakes. Nobody could say for certain what the suspects were actually after. When all was said and done, this was no harmless joke, just one of those encounters that stays with you forever. Definitely not the kind of thing you expect to stumble across on a routine film shoot. Raymond Cabalan Jr. was a 19-year-old from California with a deep love for the great outdoors. On May 11th, 2017, he set out with a small group of friends to hike the Lake Clementine Trail near Auburn, California, a well-known destination along the North Fork of the American River, celebrated for its breathtaking scenery and refreshing waters. The sky was clear, the trails were open, and the river below seemed like the ideal spot to beat the heat. What none of them realized, though, was that the river was hiding something beneath its calm-looking surface. That spring, California had been hit with an unusually intense snowmelt season. All of that runoff cascading down from the Sierra Nevada had transformed what appeared to be a gentle stretch of water into a ruthlessly deceptive current. The river's temperature hovered somewhere between 40 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to send the body into shock on impact and sap your strength within minutes. But standing on the trail looking down, you'd never know it. It looked perfectly harmless. And that's exactly what made it so deadly. By the time the group made it down to the water's edge, the mood was electric. One of Raymond's friends pulled out his phone and hit record. You can actually hear the excitement building in his voice as everything unfolds on camera.
I'm gonna record this.
This is memories right here.
Hey, so we got my cousin, we got my boy Ray. All right, Ray, go for it. Do it, Ray, go. Go, go, go. 2, 1. Boom.
Carmen's gone.
Oh.
Hey!
No, it's good. Hey, Ray, you...
They begin jumping in one after another. That footage would turn out to be the last known recording of Raymond Cabalan Jr. alive. His friend Reed entered the water first and managed to pull himself out without issue. He jumped close to the bank. Raymond, however, leaped much further out, landing deeper into the river's flow. The moment he made contact with the water, the current seized him. He struggled against it, but the force was overwhelming, and the bone-chilling temperature was already stripping away his ability to fight back. Within seconds, he was being swept downstream. His friends screamed his name. They sprinted along the riverbank, trying to keep pace with him. One called 911, while the others tore through the brush, but the river was moving faster than any of them could run. Raymond was carried further and further away until he vanished from sight entirely. Just like that, he was gone. Search teams scoured the river for days. Helicopters swept the area from above. Divers went into the water. For more than 2 weeks, his family clung to hope. Then, on May 29th, 18 days after he disappeared, Raymond's body was recovered approximately 3 miles downstream from the point where he had jumped. he was only 19 years old. What started as a casual afternoon with friends ended in a tragedy nobody could have anticipated. And the most devastating part of all is just how quickly it happened. Lost to the river, Jenna Alexis is a YouTuber known for documenting wilderness adventures, solo camping trips, and outdoor exploration across the stunning landscapes of Canada. On this particular outing, she's venturing deep into the woods for what's meant to be a peaceful bushcraft camping experience on Crown land. That's Canadian public land where anyone can set up camp at no cost. She's packed everything she needs: a winter-rated sleeping bag, a tarp for overhead cover, her cooking setup, and her longtime travel companion, a stuffed monkey named Herb who's tagged along on plenty of her past trips. She rolls down a gravel road in her van, passing a few cows on the way, and cracking jokes about the undersized tires she keeps meaning to swap out. The location looks ideal: a partially frozen river nearby, plenty of standing dead timber for fuel, and not another soul in sight. Well, almost. Earlier that same morning, she'd had a quietly troubling run-in with a man driving a white SUV, and she'd since relocated to a spot that felt far more hidden away.
So I'm out here on Crown land, and I'm going to do a little bit of a bushcraft camp out today. I have my backpack with my sleeping kit and my cooking kit. I have my tarp and some pegs, and I have the forest all to myself. I brought my buddy Herb with me to keep me company.
The afternoon unfolded beautifully from there. She locked in on the perfect campsite beside a small stream and got straight to work showing off some genuine bushcraft knowledge. She sourced standing dead timber rather than logs off the ground, since they ignite far more reliably, and even stumbled across some quality fatwood, that resin-saturated wood that's practically made for fire starting. At one point, you can actually watch her lift a piece to her nose and remark on how great it smells. She crossed the shallow stream again and again, hauling firewood one piece at a time, since tossing the logs over risked getting them soaked.
I didn't see that when I was walking in, but I'm going to cut this down. These standing dead trees in your camp are called widowmakers because they can squish you in the middle of the night should they fall or should a gust of wind blow them over. It is a dead tree. I'm not harming any of the living trees around here. So we're going to be taking that down for safety and for firewood. Falling trees can obviously be very dangerous, and for that reason I don't like to go against the laws of gravity, but there were some trees on the other side that were alive that I didn't want to hit and have the tree land on, and it worked.
Everything seemed to be falling into place. She rigged up her bear-resistant food bag correctly, walking through exactly why keeping food separated from both grizzlies and black bears in that region matters so much, then got to work constructing an impressive tarp shelter using nothing but paracord and ground stakes. The camp was shaping up nicely. The green tarp slung between two trees, a cozy sleep setup laid out with her pad underneath, and little Herb the monkey positioned inside the shelter to hold down the fort. But that sense of calm didn't stick around, because this is the moment things began to take a genuinely unsettling turn. Somewhere around 4 p.m., just as she was putting the finishing touches on her shelter, she spotted something off in the distance that made her walk away from everything she'd built.
In my bag because I didn't fold everything properly. I'm just trying to get out of here. I have half my stuff in my food bag. It's gonna be okay. He's not here right now. This is where he pulled out to, and he literally took a look at me and turned around and pulled out. But I know it was the same car. It was like a white SUV with a bag over the back of his window, and he turned around and I saw that same bag. So yeah, I'm fucking out of here. Even if that guy didn't mean any harm and he was just trying to camp here, I don't like when somebody knows where I'm camping when I'm by myself. I want to be hidden and
From that point on, her instincts took over entirely. She ripped down the tarp shelter she'd spent hours constructing, shoved everything into her bags without any real order to it, and began making her way back to the van on foot.
This morning, I got here pretty early, and I pulled out to the spot that I thought was going to be my spot for the night, and I was getting my backpack, getting ready to leave the car, when this white SUV pulled up, and this guy walked out, and he walked up to my campsite, or where my car was parked, and he was like, "Hey, me and my girlfriend were here this morning, and I left something, I'm just going to go look for it." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." But I wanted to wait inside the van until he got back out of the woods and left, so that I knew he wasn't still out there, and that he wouldn't know where I was going to hike to. So I was waiting in the car for a while, and it started to get suspicious that he was out in the woods for that long. And so I walked up to his car, first of all to get the license plate, but also to see if his girlfriend was actually in there. But the windows were heavily tinted to the point that I couldn't even see in. But I walked up and around the car, so I would assume if the girlfriend was in there, she would have saw me and been "Hey, what's up?" You know what I mean? So I walked around the car, I couldn't see if there was someone inside. I got the license plate and I went back to my car, and I just got a bad feeling from that. So I drove my van up to another campsite. I drove my van all the way to a new spot. I hid it in the trees and I hiked like away from my van so I wasn't even on the same trail as I was like parked near. And then the rest of the day went fine. The sky was beautiful. The weather was great. I was having a great time out there. Got a lot done. And then like 4 p.m. rolls around and I see that same car. I know it was the same car because when I looked at the license plate, I saw his back window was gone and he just had like a garbage bag over it. And I saw a white SUV pull up in the distance and then I saw it like stop where I'm pretty sure he saw me, and then he turned around and left, and as he was leaving I saw that like garbage bag on the back. I was very uneasy, like why did I see that man twice? Why did I never see his girlfriend that he mentioned? Why was he driving around a bunch of different campsites all day? I also don't like the vibe I got from him in the first.
Just sit with that for a second. First encounter, he approaches her with a story about searching for something his supposed missing girlfriend left behind. Second encounter, she notices him cruising around to different campsites throughout the day. Third encounter, he turns up with an eyeline of her remote site, spots her, and drives off. So was this man actually a threat, or was the whole thing just an unfortunate string of coincidences? There's really no way to say for certain. Maybe there was a girlfriend. Maybe he genuinely was trying to track something down. Maybe 3 sightings in one day was nothing more than terrible timing.
I like being a girl. Don't get me wrong. I love being a woman. I love femininity. But there are times in life I wish I was.
What's your read on the situation? Do you think Jenna made the right call by leaving? Or does this feel more like a misunderstanding that got blown out of proportion? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm genuinely interested in how people see this one. And whatever you take away from this, whether you're camping on Crown land or somewhere else entirely out in the wild, trusting your gut will always beat talking yourself out of a bad feeling. Those instincts exist for a reason. Stay safe out there. Carolina had been out with her boyfriend and was making her way back late at night. It was already dark outside, and she had caught one of the last buses home, expecting nothing more than a peaceful ride and a short walk to her front door. But the second she stepped off the bus, she spotted a man lingering near the stop. Her first instinct was to stay composed. Something about him put her on edge, but she avoided looking his way and decided the best move was to keep moving and not give him any reason to notice her. She told herself to stay calm and just kept walking. Then, within moments, she realized he was behind her. There was still a gap between them at first, and she tried to rationalize it. Maybe he just happened to be going the same way. But the further she walked, the more that gap seemed to close. She thought about breaking into a run, but worried that doing so might push him to do the same. So she held herself back. Then he started shouting things at her from behind. Incoherent, random things. For a brief moment, she clung to the idea that he was just drunk and not actually focused on her. But he kept coming, and the space between them kept shrinking. Then the road curved ahead of her, and the instant she knew she'd slipped out of his line of sight, she bolted. She made it through her front door without spotting him again, and for a little while it seemed like she'd managed to shake him. She locked up, tried to slow her breathing, and probably told herself the whole thing was behind her. Then, roughly 20 minutes later, the bell at her front gate went off. Her parents weren't home, and given everything that had just happened, there was no way she was going to answer it. The gate gave her some sense of security, but when she crept over to the window and looked out, her stomach must have dropped. It was the same man. He had tracked her all the way to her house, and now he was standing there, eyes fixed on the windows above. He didn't leave. He just stayed out there, hovering in front of the property like he was working something out. Carolina kept telling herself the doors were locked and the gate was between them, that he couldn't actually get to her. But then she heard something that made the situation feel far more dangerous. Somehow, he had gotten into the garden and was now rattling the door handle. That was the moment she retreated to the bathroom and barricaded herself inside, waiting for her parents to get back. She had already called them and told them what was going on, and thankfully they were heading home. But until they walked through that door, all she could do was stay hidden and listen. Eventually the noise at the door went quiet, and the man seemed to have gone. But the fear he'd left behind didn't disappear with him. It wasn't until her parents arrived home, roughly an hour later, that she finally felt like she could breathe again. What makes this story so unsettling is that Carolina did everything right. She kept her head down, avoided eye contact, picked her moment to run, locked herself in, and refused to answer the gate. And yet none of it stopped him from finding out where she lived. What began as an uneasy walk from a bus stop escalated into one of the most primal fears a person can experience. The slow, creeping realization that the stranger behind you isn't heading in the same direction by coincidence. He was following you the whole time. The last paranormal entry comes from Lomar Menz, a seasoned urban explorer and ghost hunter recognized for his atmospheric investigations into some of the most unsettling corners of the supernatural. Together with his partner Chelsea, a working medium, he combines folkloric research with overnight immersive challenges. In this episode, posted on May 19th, 2025, Lomar heads back to a location that left him both physically and emotionally wounded, a stretch of forest in Nova Scotia called Dagger Woods. From the very start, this was never going to be a routine ghost hunt. Dagger Woods carries a bone-chilling legend rooted in the 1700s when a man allegedly killed his wife with a pearl-handled dagger before vanishing into the tree line. His body was never recovered, but locals claim his spirit didn't simply fade. It fused with something ancient and far darker that had already been lurking in those woods long before him. Many believe the result is a cryptid or spiritual force that continues to haunt the area to this day. Some refer to it as a Wendigo, others know it only as the Howler. Whatever it may be, Lomar is convinced it came after him during a prior visit, and he's returned to face it head-on. This time around, he isn't going in solo. He's brought along a group of fellow explorers called the Outcasts, a crew from Quebec stepping foot in these woods for the very first time. Their excitement is real, but so is the tension hanging over the group. Lomar describes the area as a cryptid habitation zone, a place where something that isn't fully human makes its home. Once the team enters the forest, they fan out to cover ground. Some circle the outer edges, while others push down trails Lomar never reached on his last trip. It's during one of those deeper excursions that everything starts to unravel.
Whoa, somebody just touched my back! Holy shit, somebody just touched my back! What the f? Whoa! Whoa, did that just say I know you?
Yeah, it did. It did.
Holy shit. Why do I feel like it's that humanoid that's causing this right now? Deep down I feel like it's doing something.
Let's just get back to base camp. Safety in numbers. Check on Akia.
Akia's in the Jeep though, right? Yeah, Akia's still in the Jeep.
Of course, yeah, she is. But still,
And plus the boys are there.
that sounded so freaking close.
Yeah. Now they're gone.
Oh, wow.
Wait. Okay, just be slow. Coyotes won't attack.
Oh my, I just heard a clap.
Lomar feels something make contact with his back, cold, intentional, and he whips around with his pulse spiking, only to find nobody there. The whole thing is caught on camera, complete with audio distortion and what sounds like faint whispering. Chelsea, whose instincts have proven valuable on past investigations, starts to lose her composure. The woods feel empty, she says. Not just quiet, but hollowed out, as if every living thing has been sapped away. Still, the group pushes deeper, determined to go further than any previous attempt. That's when they arrive at the exact spot where Lomar was attacked before. Armed with thermal imaging and full-spectrum night vision, they sweep the surrounding area. One of the outcasts spots something between the trees, tall, pale, and shaped like a person but wrong somehow. Lomar confirms it matches the figure he photographed on his earlier visit, and whatever it is, it appears to be closing the distance. Then the howling starts. If you've made it this far, drop the hidden word dark in the comments.
Can you see us? That's insane.
So nauseous.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I can't shake this gut feeling. Like something is just wrong.
Do we need to turn back?
No, we can keep pushing, but like...
Lungs. Okay, what was that? That was like a bark. From like that way.
That's not a Kia.
No.
Those are coyotes.
On July 26, 2025, Endless Venture carried us into one of the planet's last genuinely untamed places, the Babai River Valley of Western Nepal, a land where human beings are seldom seen but tiger prints mark nearly every trail. Casey Anderson, a wildlife adventurer with a reputation for going where most people won't, left his Montana roots far behind, crossing oceans and cultures to reach this corner of the world. The journey involved a layover in the chaotic energy of Kathmandu, a small plane flight above the snow-draped Himalayas, and a stretch on foot before arriving at the remote settlement of Lukla. From there, a punishing 2-hour drive through rough terrain brought him to the village of Takara, the doorstep of Bardia National Park, one of the last true strongholds of the Bengal tiger.
For the last 48 hours, I've been traveling from my home in Paradise Valley, Montana, across the world to one of the most remote, wild places on Earth. Our first stop is the bustling city of Kathmandu. From here, we hopped a domestic flight with an epic view of the Himalayas. We landed in Nepal Gunj, a 2-hour ride in a van, and we reached the remote village of Takdwara. There's a lot of wildlife that call this region home, but there's one animal that's held to the highest regard: the Bengal tiger. Takdwara butts up against Bardia National Park, one of the last tiger strongholds in Nepal. From the village, tourists go on safari in Bardia, on a mission to see the Royal Bengal tiger. But when on safari, the local guides tend to stay in a 16-square-mile chunk of Bardia, close to the village, and rarely do they venture out into the vast, untouched wilderness to the east that spans over 370 square miles. There's a river valley out there that I've always wanted to explore. In this episode, we're on a mission to explore the unknown. A place
Most visitors to Bardia never stray beyond a narrow corridor of roughly 16 square miles near the village. Casey has no interest in that. His destination is a stretch of land so isolated that the only people who regularly set foot there are military patrols. A vast, untouched expanse of some 370 square miles where outside visitors are virtually unheard of. That's exactly where he's going. The track winding up into the foothills is unforgiving, tight switchbacks hemmed in by dense jungle and sheer rock faces. But every dusty section of road they cross tells the same story. Tiger prints, over and over, fresh ones, always pointing in the same direction the crew is traveling. There's no question about it anymore. They are deep inside tiger country.
Takdwara, we're off the beaten path. We're headed to one of the most remote regions of the Bardia National Park area, a place called the Babai River Valley. There's only one road in here, and it's the road that we're on right now, and it is a rough one. This road accesses some very remote military camps, and that's the only people that are coming back here. The Terai region is the area of the floodplain where we spend most of our time tracking tigers, and now we've gone north more up into the Himalayan foothills. It's kind of where that floodplain meets the Himalayas. And this area is filled with all kinds of crazy wildlife: sloth bears, potentially clouded leopards, big herds of elephants, tigers, everything. So even though we're in the foothills, there's still tigers running around out here. Almost every patch of dust or mud that I've seen as we've been driving for a couple hours now, I've seen exactly this. A brand new tiger track headed the same way we are. So we have definitely not left tiger country. In fact, I feel like we are in the middle of it. Still got a couple more hours. Sun's going.
By late afternoon, they reach the river and make camp. The truck and its drivers turn around and leave, and just like that, the crew is entirely on their own. This spot will serve as their base for the next several days. Their only real protection consists of a rope perimeter soaked in kerosene, a deterrent for elephants, which are known to wreck campsites and have even killed people, and their night watchman Dookie, who will keep the fire burning and stay vigilant while everyone else tries to sleep.
From wild elephants. Wild elephants will come into our camp, destroy our camp, kill us if they want to. So we've got a few precautions. This is an interesting one I've never seen before. The guys are going around the perimeter of the camp and putting rope and string that's been soaked in kerosene.
This is Dookie Ram. His role on our crew is the night watchman. Along with these precautions in place, he will stay awake and be on watch, and also keep the fires going all night. It's time to settle in our tents for the night and get some sleep, and go out in search of tigers in the morning.
As the sun slides behind the foothills, the tree line erupts with alarm calls, the sharp, urgent barks of muntjac deer. Anyone who has spent time in tiger country knows exactly what those sounds mean. Muntjac don't raise the alarm unless something large and dangerous is close, something striped. Then, at midnight, the calls start up again, louder this time and nearer. Casey lies still in his tent, suddenly very aware of how little canvas stands between him and whatever is out there. Somewhere in the tall grass just beyond the edge of camp, a tiger is present, watching, listening, perhaps weighing its options, and then it slips away into the dark.
specific alarm calls towards tigers, and that is the tiger alarm call. That means there's definitely a tiger right by camp right now. Yeah. They don't alarm unless there's a tiger. So there must be a tiger right by camp right now.
Morning brings proof. Paw prints ring the campfire, pressed into the soil no more than a few hours earlier. The tiger had come right to the edge of camp, close enough to see the flames, the tents, the sleeping figures inside, close enough to catch every murmured word. Later that same morning, the team follows a fresh set of tracks leading away from camp and discovers tiger scat sitting directly on top of their own footprints from the previous day. The implication is impossible to ignore. At some point, the tiger wasn't just nearby. It was behind them, trailing the group as they moved through its territory.
We're able to see just how close our visitor got last night. Even the most elusive of animals will leave a footprint.
This one, return. Let's back and forth.
Fresh tiger tracks around camp.
Walk back and forth. So tiger came into camp last night, saw the camp, turned around, and then walked back out that way. Around midnight we heard some chital deer calls over in this direction too, so that's probably what they were alarming at. It's crazy to think that last night, while everybody was sleeping in camp, and our night guard was probably right there by that fire, just there in the tall grass, a tiger walked up, looked at our camp, assessed the situation, probably watched the night watchman walk around or stand by the fire, and then just snuck off that tall grass. It's pretty humbling.
The remainder of the day is devoted to tracking the cat through the valley, and then, just as the light begins to fade and the team turns back toward camp, it happens. A burst of movement in the riverbed, something enormous, fluid, and unmistakably striped. A large male tiger. Casey stands there taking it in, fully aware of just how extraordinary this moment is. This is the reason expeditions like this one exist. Not purely for the footage or the adrenaline, but because every real encounter with a wild tiger is a stark reminder of how close we are to a world without them. Fewer than 4,000 remain on the entire planet, and yet here in this forgotten valley, evidence of them is everywhere you look. This isn't just tiger country, it's a tiger kingdom, hidden from the world, ferociously alive, and still holding on. What drives someone to seek out a shadowy parking lot rather than pay $20 for a monitored space? For Daniela, it's the appeal of staying hidden, the quiet satisfaction of going unnoticed, but sometimes the darkness has eyes of its own. Tonight's fourth video comes from Lost in Wonder, a solo female travel channel where Daniela chronicles van life and off-the-grid road trips throughout Canada and North America. It's grounded, it's warm, and it carries just enough unpredictability to make you reach over and check your own locks. November 16th, 2025. Niagara Falls, Ontario.
It's kind of weird somebody talking by themselves, like me, or like talking to her camera. So I wonder if that's what he's looking at, but he's kind of creeping me out a little bit. Like, what is he doing? He's looking at his phone. I think it's fine. I think it's just looking at his phone. He was here before I got here, so who am I to come and start saying that he's doing creepy stuff, right? Okay.
Canada, a stranger, eyes fixed directly on her. And just like that, before she's even settled on a place to park for the night, the raw exposure of traveling alone announces itself. Niagara Falls after dark, freezing, blustery, soaking wet. She passes on the $20 lot, too pricey, too visible for what she has in mind, and sets out to find her own discreet location instead. First though, Emily needs sorting out. The van is an absolute mess from a rushed departure, interior lights burning bright while she works through the chaos by hand in a temporary spot. Hardly inconspicuous, hardly the moment you want anyone paying close attention, setting up the bed.
What? Okay, this is not working. Okay. All right. I cannot.
Getting herself organized, she glances toward the window and goes completely still. A man motionless in the darkened car park, body turned toward the van, staring straight at her. She cycles through the reasonable explanations, having a smoke, waiting on somebody, just cutting through. But the eye contact lingers far too long, and not one of those explanations really lands. The unease shifts into something harder to shake.
It is a very, very chilly night. And over there is the United States of America. This is the border, guys. It is so cold. So I was going over there to the Sheraton because I have a wine tasting coupon. However, that little spot that I just parked.
She pulls out immediately, locates a cheaper spot with a view of the glowing falls, and gets the blackout covers drawn across every side window. Custom fitted, no light leaking through, but leaves the rear windows uncovered on purpose. After being stared at like that, total darkness feels more threatening than the cold outside. At least with the back open, she can see what's approaching. Still, that was far too close for comfort.
This is cool. Okay, that's how you get down there. I knew if I kept looking, I would find a way in here. I couldn't have done this much hiking on a 3-day camping trip. That's what I was saying, screw hiking, man. Driving, I don't know what I was thinking the whole time. I used to love hiking.
This next clip comes from YouTuber Leon RFPOA, who back in December 2013 decided to take his ATV out into the woods near Swanee. The whole idea was simple: ride through, get a feel for the land, just passing through country he hadn't seen before.
I can see someone's been ripping it up through here on other ATVs. Oh wow, shit, check it out, man. Dirt bikes. I think that's what that is. Dirt bikes are a Polaris Ranger or something. Wow, buddy. We can get all down through here. Now, if this were a survival situation, I'd have a shotgun with me and just ride right through this kind of stuff. You will pick up grouse, every other kind of crazy stuff. Little birds, big birds. I would dare say there are.
As he pushed further in, it became obvious the area hadn't been left untouched. Tracks had been worn into the ground, spots where other vehicles had clearly torn through the brush.
Whoa! Whoa! Don't shoot! Huh? Huh? Oh, I was just riding. Okay, I'll get out right now. Okay, all right. Am I on, is this your private property? Get the fuck out of here. Okay, I'm leaving.
That's when a voice broke through the tree line, somebody shouting, wanting to know what he was doing out there, telling him to leave, and doing it in a way that left zero room for misinterpretation. The most unsettling moments are rarely the ones you see coming. It's the sudden realization that someone's had eyes on you, and you have absolutely no idea for how long. The fourth clip of the evening comes from Haunted Finders, a paranormal investigation team out of the UK, who make a habit of exploring the kinds of locations where even the bravest locals refuse to set foot after dark. July 1st, 2020, Stanton Moor, Derbyshire, England. The Nine Ladies Stone Circle, a structure that predates written history, nestled within woodland carrying a legacy of witch trials and occult rituals that by many accounts never truly faded away.
Circle, which is just behind me here. So this place goes back thousands of years and nobody really knows where these strange stone circles came from. It's kind of like Stonehenge and places like that. These strange stone circles are all over the UK and nobody really knows where they've come from and why.
Before the investigation even gets underway, Kev pulls up footage from a prior visit. Through the spirit box comes a coarse, unhurried voice with a very specific message. They're going to burn me. A few seconds pass, then a second voice emerges, and it says Kev's name. Just that. Kev, whatever was on the other end of those frequencies, hadn't forgotten him, knew exactly who had returned, and apparently carried some very loaded feelings around the subject of fire. Not exactly the warmest homecoming.
We'll warm it up a bit.
Apparently, people say that it's supposed to be a strange energy inside.
Yeah.
The thing is, and sometimes you can pick it up on EMF. But I'm sure when we was here we did as well. I'm sure we picked EMF.
We did it. I went around every step.
The Xbox spirit box kicks in, frequencies cycling through the static, and then a voice breaks through. Flat, toneless, completely devoid of emotion. I killed people. Spoken the same way someone might comment on the weather. Whatever intelligence is communicating through that device isn't performing or baiting anyone. It's simply stating facts.
I heard a dog.
I heard a whisper.
I heard a really loud scream as well.
What was that?
I heard a dog.
I heard a whisper.
I heard a really loud scream as well.
I heard a whisper.
I heard a scream, did you?
There's somebody around us now.
Show yourself on this camera.
Come on, do something.
The spirit box continues its sweep, but the atmosphere has shifted entirely. Multiple voices are bleeding through simultaneously, layering over one another in a rising tide of aggression. What began as responses has turned into something far more territorial. Whatever inhabits this place has clearly decided that these investigators don't belong here, and it's no longer being subtle about that. A confession to murder delivered through white noise, a name recalled from a previous visit, a suffocating heaviness the moment they stepped inside the boundary, a whispered shriek from apparently nothing, and then a mounting wall of hostility that kept building right up until the storm rolled in and effectively settled the argument. Waterproofing wasn't up to the task, visibility was collapsing, and it seemed like the weather and whatever dwells there had arrived at the exact same conclusion simultaneously. They pulled back from the 9-lady stone circle with a very strong sense that whatever guards that perimeter has been doing so for centuries. Would you have held your ground after the first direct threat, or would hearing your own name spoken back to you from inside an ancient empty stone circle be enough to send you straight to the car? The woman was exploring an abandoned cabin when she decided to snap a photo up in the attic. Nothing about the space struck her as off at the time. It had all the qualities you'd expect from a forgotten room in a long-neglected building. Deep shadows, layers of dust, weathered wood, and the remnants of a life that had packed up and moved on long ago. It wasn't until she reviewed the image afterward that something caught her attention, something she hadn't noticed while she was actually standing there. Close to a bench, tucked within the darkness, there was a faint outline. Not defined enough to name with certainty, but defined enough to make the whole photo feel deeply uncomfortable. It bore an unsettling resemblance to a figure seated in stillness, watching silently from the far corner of the attic. And that's exactly what makes this type of photograph so difficult to shake. When you're inside a place like that, your mind is already working overtime trying to interpret the darkness around you. Shadows morph into faces, a pile of old furniture can take on a human silhouette, but when something turns up in a photograph that you're completely certain wasn't visible to you in person, it leaves a mark that's hard to explain away. Perhaps it was nothing but pareidolia at work, or maybe just the lighting, the camera angle, or the clutter of old objects playing tricks. But if that's all it was an extraordinarily convincing illusion, because in that attic, it genuinely looked as though someone had been sitting there the whole time, waiting to be found. In October 2030, a man known as Grizzly Gaz ventured into a stretch of woodland he'd been hearing whispers about, a place where pagans were rumored to hold rituals around a massive fallen tree buried somewhere deep within the forest. He located the site just as darkness was closing in, pitched his solo tent, and hunkered down with his dog Fendi, expecting nothing more than a peaceful overnight stay.
Ritual site. I'll tell you one thing, it looks creepy, so let's camp here, shall we? I can't see any pagan markings or out like that. Right then. Let's get set up, shall we? You can hardly see the tent. Now it's not pitch black yet, but it's dark enough. The only thing that you can see, look, that gives it away is the guy line.
The opening hours were completely uneventful. A warm dinner of bacon mash, the familiar sounds of an autumn evening, conkers and twigs tumbling down from the trees overhead. But as the night deepened, something began to feel wrong. The noises around him stopped feeling random. Branches were snapping nearer and nearer, and whatever was moving out there seemed to pause the moment he paid attention.
Oh, twigs falling out of trees, but I keep hearing breaking. It's definitely getting colder now. I can definitely hear something out there.
His torch started cutting out by itself for no clear reason. Fendi pressed into him, shaking, unable to calm down no matter what he tried.
Keep falling from old branches, and they're pretty close, but I checked to make sure there were no widowmakers out here, so don't know. Always check for widowmakers. I'm gonna have to close up soon because this light's attracting all flies.
Then everything shifted in an instant. Something struck his tent with such force that he didn't stop to think. He just snatched up his dog and bolted into the dark.
I think it's just wind. I have to pick it back up again now. So I hope there's no widowmakers fall on us. That'd be no good, would it, mate? Oh. Where the fuck? Fendi! Fendi!
Standing out there in total blackness, with no reliable light and no sense of which direction led to safety, he realized his car keys were still sitting back at camp. There was no other option but to turn around and go back. What reached his ears next made him immediately regret that decision.
Come on, mate, come on. Come on. Have some balls. Right. I'm gonna have to turn this on because I can't see. Where you going, Fendi? There you are. I can't have that shining near my face. I can't see out. I can see tent lit up over there. Don't know why I'm whispering, because
As he crept back toward the tent to retrieve his pack, the screaming erupted, dozens of male voices hollering somewhere among the trees. Then came the sound of heavy footsteps tearing through the undergrowth. Heading directly toward him,
then I heard loads and loads of screaming, like shouting from men, and it sounded like there were about 20 or 30 of them. And then they all started.
He snatched whatever he could carry and sprinted for the car, not letting up until he was well clear of the area. When he returned in daylight to retrieve the rest of his belongings, his tent had been completely destroyed, poles broken clean in two, the fly sheet slashed open, and his equipment scattered across the forest floor.
I had to leave my tent here because I just wanted to get out of there. And a few other bits as well that I left. Look at the state of it. Oh, come on, mate. Snap my poles and that. Sleep mat. Where's my cook kit? My cook kit were over here somewhere. Don't mind people scaring you and stuff out of woods, but when they're just going to break stuff as well, what's the point in that? Eh? Oh, it's got rips in that fly sheet as well. Look.
Whatever unfolded in those woods that night went far beyond a simple fright. It was a deliberate message, and whoever sent it made absolutely certain it landed. A bunch of friends were hanging around, filming goofy content for TikTok. The whole vibe was relaxed and fun, right up until it wasn't. Gradually, the giggling died down as something unsettling seemed to take hold of the atmosphere.
Cállate. Están viendo. Yo estoy. Pero no, es el árbol, es la sombra. No.
Just past the reach of the backyard light, beside a tree, something dark was standing there. It wasn't swaying, it wasn't shifting in the breeze. It was simply staring in their direction, and then it started to move.
No nos queremos acercar, pero se ve muy negro, súper negro. Yo digo que es la sombra del árbol, pero ellas dicen que es otra cosa. Okay.
The girls do their best to brush it off and carry on with their evening, but the creeping dread eventually becomes too overwhelming to ignore. They pack up and get out.
Se ve súper negro. Una mancha negra. Ya lo vi raro.
The clip went on to explode online, with viewers in the comments insisting it was. The location wasn't isolated, it wasn't buried deep in some remote wilderness, just a small stretch of woodland not far from civilization. But what unfolded there was enough to push an experienced wild camper right to his breaking point, and then beyond it. The video opens the way so many do for English woodland campers. A solo bivvy bag setup, laid-back commentary, chili noodles on the stove, everything completely unremarkable, until it isn't. The first sound is easy to miss. Footsteps. Not hurried, not heavy, just steady and intentional. He stops, rewinds the audio, listens closely, and what he hears leaves no room for doubt. No animal made that sound. The wind didn't either. Someone is moving just beyond the tree line, yet when he calls out into the dark, silence is the only answer. Nothing stirs. Then it comes again, same tempo, same cadence, same eerie quiet the moment he speaks up. He tries to hold it together, keeps cooking, sips his water, keeps talking to the lens like routine can anchor him, but the cracks are showing. His eyes drift back to the trees, then back again. He tells the camera he's fine, but his breathing tells a completely different story. Eventually, he reaches a decision that most people wouldn't be willing to admit out loud. He breaks camp and walks away, not because anything lunged at him, not because a silhouette appeared between the trees, but because something felt deeply, fundamentally wrong, and some part of him understood that staying meant losing his grip. On his composure, on the night, maybe on something he couldn't even name, people gave him grief for it online. Said he overreacted, called him soft, dismissed it as just a sound. But he heard it twice, and once you watch the footage and actually listen to what he captured, the choice he made starts to make a lot more sense. That's what makes this so unsettling. Nobody knows what would have happened had he chosen to stay. Fortunately, tonight's opening clip comes from Paranormal Watch, a UK-based channel that combines wild camping with hands-on paranormal investigation. The creator ventures alone into remote woodland, carrying minimal equipment, spirit communication devices, and a tendency to film whatever seems to be filming him right back. The footage speaks for itself, so let's get into it. June 10th, 2024, Cannock Chase, England. Dense forest, picked specifically for how cut off it is from everything else.
Weeks back, I just never videoed it. I've done quite a few, I just never thought about videoing it until now. Maybe, I mean, I brought the ghost hunting stuff with me, just in case. You know, my glasses keep falling off my face.
He's running a joint live stream with fellow investigator Paul from Ranger Packs, when the motion-triggered cat balls suddenly begin lighting up in complete darkness. Nothing visible caused it, no trigger he can pinpoint, and at the same moment, disembodied whispering surfaces close enough that he starts repeatedly calling out into the trees. He makes clear he means no harm. Whatever the equipment is reacting to, the camera simply cannot capture it.
Or a whistle, something anyway. Spirits, do you make this tap ball? Spirits, do you make this tap ball? Spirits, can you make this? What? It doesn't hurt. Just need you to do that.
He's settled into his sleeping bag, camera still rolling, when he's jolted awake in the middle of the night by intense rustling pressing right up against the outside of his tent. Loud and sustained, directly against the fabric. Animal or something else entirely. There's no way to tell until daylight arrives. Morning comes.
I think it was a piece of wood, shaved piece of wood. Hanging from the tree. But I didn't notice it last night. I didn't notice it first thing this morning. Only when I was doing my clear up one more time, I noticed it. Somewhere over there, that's where I was. As I head down here, this is the spot, just where the trees are, over the path. Something marching towards me. Feels completely different in the day. It's lovely, to be honest.
And there it is, suspended from a branch hanging directly over the spot where his tent had been pitched. A length of paracord attached to a deliberately carved and shaved piece of wood. He had walked right underneath it while setting up the previous evening and slept beneath it the entire night without ever noticing. Motion sensors firing with nothing around them, whispers cutting through the dark, unexplained sounds drifting from the tree line, something pressing hard against the tent walls at midnight, and a carved token dangling right above his head that was either placed there while he was asleep or had been there all along without him realizing. Neither possibility sits well. He makes the mile-long trek back through thick brambles to his car and reflects on just how unsettling the whole experience was. Solo wild camping is something he does regularly without a second thought. Canic chase with paranormal gear turned out to be a completely different situation. Going back to call out to spirits on his own is something he has no interest in repeating. That one got far too close for comfort. Dartmoor National Park seems harmless enough when you're looking at it on paper, just rolling hills, open grassland, and a few ancient stone structures. But once the fog thickens and the light fades, those sprawling moors transform into something far more disorienting, with no clear way out in any direction. This man was simply out by a calm Scottish river, recording otters in their natural habitat. Just a quiet day in nature, nothing out of the ordinary. But when he got home and started going through the footage, he noticed something that didn't belong. Off in the background, close to the tree line, a faint silhouette appears out of nowhere and then simply vanishes. It's not some kind of lens artifact either. It genuinely looks like a person standing there, one moment, and then completely gone the next. What makes it even stranger is that this all happens in full daylight. No shadowy midnight atmosphere, no darkness to blame it on. What would you do if you stepped out of your tent and came face to face with this?
Ai, meu Deus do céu! Vocês estão entendendo o quanto de jacaré tem aqui? Ai, meu Deus. Tem que ir na barraca literalmente pra acampar. Vamos dormir aqui, guys? Errou meu.
TikTok user EagleTrend8 and a companion went through that exact situation during a camping trip in Brazil. And here's what makes the video even harder to shake. When you replay the footage, you can actually make out dozens of small glowing eyes scattered throughout the darkness beyond the tent. This clip comes from a travel vlogger running the YouTube channel Jessie Carr, where she takes her audience along on adventures around the globe, covering everything from local cuisine to the kind of one-of-a-kind experiences you can only find by actually being there. She has a reputation for being refreshingly authentic and warm, qualities that tend to draw people toward her wherever she goes. But on September 15th, 2025, that very warmth pulled her into a situation that turned out to be anything but comfortable. During this particular upload, she had made her way to Samoa with plans for a straightforward visit to the Afua waterfall, just a casual swim and some footage. What seemed like an easy scenic detour slowly unraveled into something that felt deeply wrong.
I don't know if I'm meant to park here, but anywho, this is the spot. And I think it's just me. Wait, let's go check it out quickly. Oh my goodness. Wow. It's just me too. I'm so excited. It looks unreal. And I guess you can hop down on those stairs and then go in. Alright, I'm gonna...
She arrived at the spot and, initially, it was everything she could have hoped for. The kind of place that looks almost too beautiful to be real. What made it even better was the silence. Not another soul in sight, which out in a remote location like that usually feels like striking gold. But right as she began preparing to change, something changed with it. It was a small thing at first, barely noticeable, but it was enough to knock the moment off balance. And that sense of peaceful solitude suddenly started carrying a very different feeling.
Are you okay? All good? Jessie. Pardon? I can't remember the name. It's like, I don't remember the name. Sorry. There's a man and he's kind of just like hanging around me. Anyway. Just gotta be careful not to slip.
Despite the fact that the man was already standing uncomfortably close, she made the decision to get into the water regardless. This was a place she had genuinely been excited to visit, and she wasn't ready to let one person's presence rob her of that. But the unease didn't fade, it built. He never looked away, his gaze stayed fixed on her the whole time, and the moment she waded in, he stepped in right behind her, making it obvious he had no intention of simply moving on.
I feel like that man was like waiting for me to hop in so he could hop in or something. I don't know why. Wow. Look at that. It's so beautiful. It's pretty deep here, I think. Shit, it's so deep. Would you like me to take a photo of you guys? Yeah? Okay. That's okay. So the ladies... Pardon? Over there? I'll try. No, all good. The man is telling me that I should go over here.
Thankfully, another couple happened to be nearby, and just knowing they were there offered a thin layer of reassurance. It wasn't enough to make her feel truly at ease, but it meant she wasn't entirely on her own. Even so, the man kept pushing. He continued trying to engage with her, at one point motioning toward a cave close by, as though encouraging her to go check it out. She quietly drifted further away, putting some space between them, and for a brief moment it seemed like the tension might die down, but then it picked right back up. Without warning, He slipped into the water, moving low and deliberately, as though he was trying to close the distance without being noticed.
I don't know, I can't tell if the man is just being really nice or if he's just being too friendly, like, because I was feeling a little bit uncomfortable. But he was like, do you need some help coming over here? And I was like, no, thank you. Because I just want to be like by myself with no men around, preferably. Okay, oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! You scared me. I'm good, thanks. Pardon? Cold, yeah. I'm 25. Pardon? Sorry? A hole. Oh, it's like a cave. Is it a cave? Yeah? Okay. I'm okay. You go, I'll follow you.
He surfaced again without warning, and once more pushed the idea of showing her the cave. Jessie, doing her best to stay gracious and not jump to conclusions, went along with it even as her discomfort continued to grow. As he led her through the area, there were fleeting moments where it almost seemed innocent, like he might just be an overly eager local trying to be helpful, and she appeared to relax slightly, but it didn't hold. When he offered her a hand climbing a rock, the dynamic shifted fast. His behavior became unmistakably inappropriate, and any illusion of a harmless encounter evaporated on the spot. She didn't second guess herself. She made it clear she was done and wanted to get back to her car. But even that wasn't the end of it. He trailed behind her the whole way out, refusing to give her space, turning what should have been a simple walk back into something that felt genuinely threatening.
Okay, we'll go back. Pardon? I'm not too sure.
He went as far as inviting her to come back to his place to meet him and a friend, which by that point only deepened the sense that something was very wrong. What had begun as an awkward encounter had escalated into something far more alarming, and it was becoming increasingly clear that his motives were never as innocent as they may have seemed. To her credit, she kept her composure throughout. She stayed measured, kept the exchange just civil enough, and got herself back to her vehicle without letting things spiral. But none of that diminishes how genuinely unsettling the whole thing was. Situations like this are tricky, because being polite and approachable can sometimes send the wrong signal, especially to the wrong kind of person, and once that happens, you can find yourself in uncomfortable territory you never saw coming. The warning signs were all there though. The relentless staring, the way he shadowed her every move, the physical boundary he crossed, none of that was ambiguous. Those were red flags in plain sight. And even though she got out of there without anything worse happening, the whole encounter has a way of staying with you. Because it's not just about the specifics of what took place, it's about how fast a moment of genuine peace can curdle into something unsettling. 1 second, you're standing in a stunning, quiet place, feeling completely free, and the next you realize the solitude you thought you had was never really there, and it's that sudden shift, that gut drop realization, that makes stories like this so hard to shake. Out on a wet, dreary hike, a woman spotted what looked like a terrifying masked figure standing motionless in the middle of a field. Her heart must have been pounding until she got a closer look and the truth clicked into place. It was simply a horse wearing a raincoat. The way the coat draped and bunched, combined with the dull gray lighting, produced a genuinely unsettling optical illusion that completely tricked her brain. It's fascinating how our minds race straight to panic long before logic ever gets a chance to catch up. Elvis Wild Camper, a growing YouTube channel dedicated to wilderness camping across the UK, has posted a string of videos that have genuinely rattled the people watching them. In the opening episode, the camper strings up a hammock deep inside a remote, secluded forest. Once night begins to close in, the peaceful mood shifts into something far more unsettling. The quiet of the woodland is shattered by bizarre, unexplained noises reverberating from every direction. Clearly rattled, the camper attempts to locate where the sounds are coming from, but finds nothing.
It's full of creatures and animals running around, and twigs on the floor, so you hear everything snapping and cracking and breaking. There's a huge amount of noises around here. I've picked a chestnut tree wood, so there are chestnuts crashing around constantly. Sounds like Bigfoot.
As the hours tick by, the situation continues to escalate. Without any warning, a rock lands just beside the hammock.
A massive thud hits the ground and bounces. And I jumped up, unzipped it, put my torch on, and there's a rock on the floor that wasn't.
Shortly after that, a sizable branch crashes down onto the ground nearby.
This doesn't land coming down. It bounces towards me. It hit the floor and was still rolling towards me.
Thoroughly spooked, the camper hastily gathers his belongings and flees the area, vowing he will never go back. After riding out the remainder of the night in his vehicle, he describes a strange encounter with a man he noticed standing at the side of the road, recounting the deeply odd exchange between them. Yet in spite of his promise to keep away, the story wasn't finished.
Right by me, and he saw me and he went, "All right." And I was like, "All right." He went, "You been camping in the woods?" I said, "Yeah, just a little hammock camp." And he said, he went, "You're brave." I said, "Why is that?" And he went, "People have done it before, no one's lasted." I said, "What do you mean?" And he just laughed and he went, "You know what I mean." I walked off.
Several months on, following persistent pressure from his audience, the YouTuber hesitantly made his way back to that exact location, this time armed with upgraded equipment, including infrared cameras and motion sensors. In the much anticipated second chapter, he once again spent a night among those trees. As evening crept in, the same unnerving sounds from before slowly started up again. Intent on getting to the bottom of it, he deployed his new infrared setup. What it recorded was absolutely chilling.
I might switch off for a second.
October 2022. This clip comes from Quest Out West, a solo female content creator who lives and travels out of her van through British Columbia. At the time, her van was barely running, funds were running low, and she'd been stuck parking in unfamiliar city areas far longer than she'd intended.
And I just can't solve this one, and I'm trying to understand why. Over the past week or whatever it's been, I've had every obstacle possible, and I overcame every single one of them. My message is that you need to trust yourself that you can figure it out. Because so long as you trust yourself and you persevere, you will figure it out. Even if it's the universe.
You will figure it out. What should have been an uneventful night took a dark turn quickly. Earlier that same day, she had already dealt with multiple harassment incidents. Each one left her nerves more frayed than the last. By the time evening rolled around, her gut was telling her that something was off.
Okay, I have a license plate. Do what you gotta do, sir. I will file for harassment because that's exactly what you're doing right now.
While she was changing inside the van, she moved the curtain aside for just a moment and stopped dead. A man was standing right outside, close enough to look straight in. He wasn't knocking. He wasn't saying a word. He was simply watching.
Are you interested? It's free food. You never know what's going to be there until you get there.
That's the reason that I found you staring at my van?
No, I was just taking a break. I was looking for blackberries.
You were looking for blackberries. Out of this entire parking lot, you were looking for blackberries right beside my van.
Because I just got here.
And every bush looks like... Okay, well, can you leave then?
Yeah, fine.
I'm actually shaking from this one. This one scared the crap out of me. I was behind the curtain, and just as I opened the curtain to reach for something on the dashboard...
When she confronted him, the man gave the excuse that he was searching for blackberries, but the lot was nearly deserted, and the bushes right next to her van looked nothing like blackberry plants. She told him to get away from her van.
All of these bushes are the same. So if there was blackberries, they would be any other place. It's very obvious that none of this is a blackberry bush. And if you're thinking he might have mistaken those for blackberries, he would have to be a complete moron, because...
Trembling, she locked herself inside, hit by the full weight of just how exposed she really was. Alone, vulnerable, and under someone's gaze, the moment confirmed everything she'd already been sensing. Sometimes the most frightening experiences aren't wild chases or screaming confrontations.
So annoying. This is happening. I'm trying to edit a video.
They're quiet, they're intimate, and they stay with you. Our next video comes from Recon 1 Outdoors, a survival channel dedicated to solo camping, weathering extreme conditions, and putting outdoor gear through its paces. On April 21st, 2026, at the Breed River in South Africa, the camper pulls into the area just ahead of a major storm rolling in. The wind is already picking up, though it hasn't turned truly dangerous yet. His first big decision is where and how to park his truck. He points the front end directly into the oncoming wind, using the vehicle itself as a barrier to shield the camp setup behind it. That parking angle isn't just a preference. The safety of everything behind it depends on getting it right.
And the pigs, I'm going to put out some pigs in some random places, and as soon as I open up that awning in conditions such as this, it is not meant to withstand winds of these speeds all on its own, so I'm just going to smash some pigs in. This one is a tricky one because of where I parked the car. Guys, there's no science to this. Estimating based on where my arms are once that awning is deployed. Due to the water resistance, that is another issue that I'm going to be dealing with. I've got the cameras to...
From the very first moment, he builds with stability in mind. Heavy stakes, guy ropes, and ground anchors go in before any of his gear is fully deployed. The roof canopy doesn't come out until it's properly locked down. He also adds a side wall to carve out a sheltered working zone directly behind the truck. His whole approach is layered defense, not a single tent standing alone against whatever comes.
And see if there is any other supplies that I can pick up, things people might have left around. Like I said, I am particularly looking for wood. Amazing the stuff that people just leave behind. A bit charred, but still very usable for us. I brought 2 bags of my own. I kind of knew that it wasn't going to be enough.
The rain starts up again not long after, and the wind arrives in hard, irregular surges across the campsite. He pushes on with collecting firewood, despite the rough conditions making every movement a bit of a battle. His setup was already locked in before things got truly nasty, but the storm isn't done building yet.
Dis mislik hier so buite. It's really gone monkey, it's mental. Hunter doesn't even want to play anymore. Where you, boy? You're done.
As the gusts grow stronger, the gear takes a real beating. Ropes snap taut under the force of the wind, and the blowing rain cuts visibility down hard. But when the full weight of the storm finally arrives, the camp holds, a direct result of how thoroughly he prepared from the start. Under relentless pressure, not a single thing fails.
I don't know if you guys can see that, but it is actually really cold. Got a hoodie on underneath, I got a hoodie on top. I was freezing my ass off. Okay, let's get busy with that steak.
He brings that same disciplined thinking to how he sleeps. Instead of a sealed tent, he sets up nothing more than a camping cot and a heavy winter sleeping bag. He rests out in the open air, putting his faith in quality equipment rather than 4 walls. And because every detail was thought through in advance, the night passes without a single surprise.
lives due to flash floods that happen. All these farmers are in contact with each other all the way upriver due to rising river levels. A lot of the pathways and the walkways.
He constructed a camp built to absorb punishment, and he did it long before the storm ever reached him. When you put serious protection in place ahead of the weather, you take most of the danger off the table entirely. So here's something worth thinking about. Would you rather invest the extra time locking everything down while conditions are calm, or find yourself wrestling with collapsing gear in the pitch dark with the wind tearing through your camp? In October 2023, a solo camper going by the name Dop Doc was spending the night alone in the woods when he was jolted awake by every lone camper's worst fear. A bear wasn't just wandering nearby, it was actively mauling his tent while he was still inside it. He made it out alive, though the footage itself is mostly just mayhem, shredding fabric, disorienting movement, and the gut-wrenching reality of being inches from a predator with nothing but thin nylon between you. His takeaway afterward was simple: don't camp alone. Just how close did those claws actually come, and what caused the animal to finally back off? On July 8th, 2025, YouTuber Exploring with Angelo headed out for a stealth camping excursion in Canada's Mabu Highlands, an area with a long-standing reputation for paranormal activity and a string of alleged Bigfoot encounters over the years. The warnings and unsettling local stories weren't enough to turn him around.
Highlands, and apparently there is rumored to be a Bigfoot out here, and not only that, but also possible paranormal, I don't even know. Nobody really knows for sure what is out here, but there are a couple stories about potentially a Bigfoot and maybe other paranormal. Honestly, this trip has been a once in a lifetime. It's been pretty freaking awesome, and really enjoyed spending time with my friends and experiencing tons of new things, new places that I haven't done before, so that was cool. I really enjoyed the icebergs. That was one of my favorite spots. Just heard like a car horn or something. Which is weird because I don't hear a car. It didn't sound that far. Figured I'd just check, might as well. Would like to know if somebody's coming through. It'd be, oh. What the heck is that? Something there, but I don't have my flashlight, so I can't tell what it is. What is that? Is it a deer? It could be like a bobcat, actually. Hang on. I don't see anything else. Yeah, I definitely gotta grab my rifle soon, just in case. I want to know what that is. I'm not gonna get too close, but I want to get a little closer. I wish I had my flashlight on.
He'd already been rattled after catching a pair of glowing eyes staring straight into his camera, but then he spun around and picked up a bizarre honking sound coming from the opposite direction.
Okay, I literally just heard honking down that way now. Wait, how's that? That doesn't make any sense. I heard it down there. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the 3 knock thing to see if something responds, because I mean that's what Bigfoot is supposed to do, right? So we'll try that. First I might as well get the...
Whatever was out there wasn't responding, and it was becoming clear it didn't want him around. He tried a few different methods to draw it out, but the loudest one would quickly turn out to be a serious mistake. Then,
let's try it with the rocks, I guess, for now. I was gonna start building a fire pit, but to be honest, I don't really have enough rocks available. So, all right, Bigfoot, if you're out here, show yourself. Okay, that's... I mean, you never know, an area like this, it would only make sense to potentially have something out here. Okay, that was something. That was legit 3 knocks. Down in that direction. Let's do it again. Do it again. I don't know if that's just naturally happening or if something is actively doing that out here. Bigfoot? I mean, someone was knocking out here repeatedly, so...
right as he made the call to return to camp, something that had apparently been concealed among the trees this whole time locked eyes on him once more.
Hearing something, it almost sounds like something mumbling down off in that direction. What is going on over there? I just heard somebody call out again. What the hell is that? Literally nothing. I don't see a single thing out there. Let's rest here. Okay, now I hear a plane. Okay, I don't know. I'm gonna try and go back to sleep. I fell asleep for literally 10 seconds, I think. Oh my gosh.
Whether it was truly a Sasquatch that had been shadowing him all night, or simply a deer or some other animal, is something nobody has been able to confirm.